At the time this video was made, Halloween had just passed. And of course, diet is in the news, social media fodder, because you may or may not have indulged in candy and so forth and so on, and faced your Halloween demons of junk food. Also, I've seen a lot lately discussion about whether everything in moderation is actually a sensible way to go with diet. A new study came out that apparently correlates a more diverse diet with greater weight gain, and supposedly suggests that people who eat a less diverse diet tend to eat the same things all the time and tend not to be as overweight. Again, a lot of stuff that you're going to see about diet out there is simply clickbait, and based around trying to get your attention and try to sell some sort of particular product. I'll give the example with people talking about pork, ham, bacon, red meat, and that sort of thing was in the news a couple of weeks ago with regards to it being very cancer-causing. This was done through a meta-analysis of a lot of different information, and while there's some truth to it, there's some fiction to it. And that's the big problem that we have with nutrition science and diet science in general. And not just from the fluffier social media fitness craze areas, but even from a lot of the research that's done. Research can suggest certain things. However, it really matters what the context of the research was. You know, there was that research done last year where they suggested that people who were heavier, more overweight than people who were thinner, were surviving illness in the hospital better. You know, sort of side-handedly suggesting that if you were overweight, you're more likely to survive illness. And again, what are the statistics based on? Well, people who are thin and end up in the hospital ill are more rare, and possibly their diseases are more life-threatening. Whereas people who are overweight may, in general, not take care of their health that well, and the kind of illnesses they have aren't as life-threatening. I mean, there is some truth to the fact that you waste during an illness, so if you have more to waste. But anyway, without getting overcomplicated, the analysis of research can really skew the rights and wrongs of diet. So just look at this situation with diverse diet versus repeatable diet. Isn't it possible that people who eat a very diverse diet are more inclined psychologically to be foodies? In other words, they like to try different types of food regularly. They're not inclined to stick to a bland diet. So therefore, they're more tempted by a lot of different types of foods. They're more involved with food, and therefore, on whole, you could show that they tend to gain more weight or be more overweight than people who gear themselves towards simpler diets, blander diets. That doesn't mean that either diversity or lack of diversity is a right or wrong with nutrition. That's not the way chemistry and biology works. In our experience, and I'll get right to the point here, because if you've ever seen one of my past videos, I'm known to go right off course. In our experience, the only overlying factor with regards to nutrition that spells disaster or success is analyzing your habits. Humans are creature of habits, or creature of habit, I should say. Diversity, if you eat a wide diversity of foods, you always will. Trying to change that is ridiculous. That's you. It's like trying to change the way that you talk and walk. You can do so by acting short term. You can change your accent. You can change the way you move around. That's what actors do. But it won't last. If you eat a bland diet and you eat the same things over and over again, even if it isn't bland, you'll always pick from a small choice of things. In either case, you can end up overweight by eating too much. Now, poor choices versus good choices does have an effect on your overall body weight, but really what you need to think about, rather than getting caught up in what's good, what's bad, this is better than that, this is better than that, that's bad, that's good. That stuff is all very chemistry and biology and contextually driven and varies widely person to person. I mean, we're all different genetic makeups. There's endomorphs, ectomorphs, mesomorphs, and combinations thereof, and blah, blah. We all have different lifestyles, male, female, age, so forth and so on. So the one thing that we've seen that really makes a difference for people, like I said, disaster versus success or success versus disaster, is simply seeing what your habits are. If you are willing to track how you eat over an extended period, you will see the same patterns come up over and over. You will see where your poor choices, if you want to call them that, keep repeating themselves. They're not poor choices of the moment. They're poor habits that keep resurfacing. They seem like poor choices, like, oh, I didn't have time to prepare something, or there wasn't anything around, or I skipped a meal and I ended up really hungry because I was so busy with blah, 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 blah. All this conversation that you can have with yourself about why things haven't gone well sort of fades away when you look at the bigger picture. If you track everything you eat in detail, every day, every meal, and there's great apps. We often suggest MyFitnessPal. There's easy ways to track the way you eat. And if you do it every day, week in, week out, over a few weeks, you see really obvious patterns come up. You always end up skipping meals the same amount of times. You always end up making the same poor choices, of the same type of poor choices. You go back to a lot of the same habits over and over again. And therein lies your success and failure with nutrition. By nutrition, I mean food for energy, food to keep you going, food to keep you strong, food to fuel your life, as opposed to just entertainment food or trying to eat to lose weight. Neither entertainment food, which puts weight on in most cases, nor restrictive eating to try to pull fat off, neither one of those things are good. They're facts of life. I mean, if you're overweight, you have to restrict the amount of calories you take in for a while and get the body fat off. But generally speaking, most people are always going to have entertainment food to one extent or another. That's never going to go away. That's the society that we live in, and it's a natural part of living and an enjoyment of living. Thinking that you could follow a plan, you know, someone like us or some book is going to come up with an amazing plan about a way to eat that you're going to follow for the rest of your life, is not likely. You have to make the choices yourself. And if you look at your habits, so you've written down what you eat, you don't judge it, you don't worry about what you ate, you just write down what you ate, what you drank, and even track how you sleep and your energy levels if you really want to. But if you write down what you eat, you're going to see your habits. Those habits are very, very tough to change. And trying to just throw out all your habits and come up with a whole new scheme to follow is fine short term. But in the long term, you are who you are. And to change habits about yourself, you have to be smart about it, and you have to be realistic about it. Some habits will always surface. So you just need to deal with them as they surface. You need to minimize them if they're bad habits. You need to take advantage of good habits that you have that you're not maximizing. But in general, you are who you are. And to change that for the better, you're not really trying to throw yourself away and replace with someone else's scheme. You're trying to tweak your good habits and minimize and deal with and prepare for your bad habits. So that's my big suggestion. Enjoy reading about diet or nutrition as it shows up topically in social media and so forth. But really bring it back to you. Always bring it back to you. Know who you are. Know what your reoccurring choices are. That's the only place that you're going to be able to start and see any real success.